Greetings, everyone. Times are changing, and a lot of you are feeling a shift. And in these changing times, your shift is not necessarily coming from what you're hearing on the news or what you're hearing in the political world or seeing happening. It's what's happening on your own personal timeline. And you're feeling a shift coming. That's very real. And the shift is coming from the spiritual climate around you. And more importantly, an awakening that's happening inside of you, and I can guarantee, I know who I'm speaking to. I can almost see your faces. You're feeling pressure in your head. You've been feeling pressure in your head. And you have been feeling a heaviness in your chest. As of late, you've had this urgency to clean up your house, remove the clutter, remove the things that are not working, maybe even look at your wardrobe, look at clothes you no longer wear or that are damaged. You've been having this urgency to withdraw yourself from confusion and overall a feeling that you don't have any more time to waste. You've probably been misdiagnosing it and misnaming it as anxiety, or you've just been thinking it's your imagination. Because what happens when the days change, the spirit warns the body first. And that comes through, before you start to see the signs, you'll have dreams that are louder. You'll have patience that is much shorter. You'll find that your intuition is sharper, because this is the reality. When the people sleep, the world shapes them. But when the people wake, they shape the world. And that's what the times are calling you into right now, into being awake, because the times are not just different, they're transitional. And you have to know the difference between, someone could say, oh man, things are changing or we're in a different season, we're in a different era now. But there's a difference between that and being in the middle of a transition. When you're transitional, there's a shift, like the forces, everything that's hidden, it starts to come to the surface. And that's why you're watching people now who you love, and you're watching them unravel. You're watching quiet storms erupt out of nowhere, and there are people who have their true motives that are being leaked out right now through their behavior. You see, changing times, they don't break people. Changing times, they expose people. Times don't change a person. Never believe that. Times don't change a person. Times reveal the one that you've been hiding. That's what time does. So if you were stable inside, you're becoming stronger right now. If you were out of alignment, then the cracks, in you, they're now becoming wider. The cracks are widening. If you were hiding wounds, then now the season is pulling them out. The unaligned collapse under change because they depend on the season. But the aligned don't, because they depend on the source. And that's why you feel the need right now. I know who I'm speaking to. You feel the need right now to pull your spirit together, to get your habits together, to get your household together, because the atmosphere has changed. And if you don't shift with the shift, then the shift will shift you. That's how the times are changing right now. And when I say I know who I'm speaking to, because there are certain people who are affected right now and certain people who aren't. They're business as usual. They're doing what they've been doing. You see, good or bad, they're doing what they've been doing. But there are some who come from certain lineage, blood and spiritual, who are in step and in tune and in time right now. And when you are plugged into that frequency and you're traveling with people like that through astral realms, you can see them. So I know what I just described. It hit home for a few of you. It's like, man, wow, he's reading my mind, or he's got a camera in my house, or, And then for some, it was, okay. Chief is just teaching something else again. I don't know. He's talking about something. I don't know. I just watch because it's good background noise, or it's entertaining, you know. But I know the ones who it hits for, I'm Chief Yuya, Chief Jugna of the ANU Nation and head priest and minister of the ANU Life Global Ministries. When times change, it's the cities that announce that change first. You hear me speak about being in rural environments because there is safety there, there is freedom and liberty there in many senses. But you have gate cities. Cities are gateways. That's where you sit, you go into the rural areas and you go to the mountaintop and you look down into the city to see what's going on. Change will always happen there. And there is a spiritual financial gate that exists in the West, in the Anglosphere. That spiritual financial gate is New York City, none other than New York City. It's an important place. Right now, New York City and that gate is speaking very loudly. There's a 34-year-old Ugandan-born Muslim who was just elected as the mayor of New York. There are people who are saying they're going to leave New York now because of this. They're on their way out. And there's so many different things, you can find the headlines. Very few people understand the prophetic nature of the age alone. 3 is manifestation, and 4 is foundation and our numerical wisdom. So when you put them together, 3 and 4 or 34, it's the manifested foundation shift. It's the number of a cycle that supports the old and rebuilds a new pattern on top of it. Always understand this about numbers. Numbers are not symbols. Numbers are instructions. The number 34 marks a period where a new spiritual structure replaces a decaying one. You look at the origin of this individual. He's from Uganda. Now, Uganda that's not a random place. Uganda sits in the region of what we know as ancient Kush, the Kushite Empire. That's Uganda. And of course, it's also a territory that is tied to that Nile corridor. And that's a region, obviously, that's, repeatedly repeated in different prophecies as a birthplace of transformative leaders and ideological breakers, right? Power rises from the places where bloodlines reach the furthest back. So for those of you who, want deeper understanding on that, the deeper one's ancestry, the more potent the spiritual ripple when someone from that bloodline rises to power. So that's what makes the moment so spiritual and so uncanny and maybe even exotic. You have this Cushitic Muslim African-born leader who now governs a city built on pseudo-Hebraic moral architecture and Torah-encoded foundations. One thing to understand about energy and placement, when opposites occupy the same field, a new cycle begins. That's what happens when you put opposites in the same field. So that's what's happening here. You have a son of Ishmael now governing a city shaped by the children of Yisrael's scripture. Pseudo, remember I said that. So it's not something that's happening in conflict, but it's happening in proximity, in alignment. It's happening in symbolism. So it's not necessarily we're talking about politics, but we're talking about cosmic choreography. Things are being repositioned on a cosmic level. When lineages shift positions, the spiritual architecture of a nation tilts with them. Lineage is a very important thing, brothers and sisters. Don't let people play with your lineage. Do whatever you can to stop that. People think lineage is a joke. You know, people will do things with your children and try to confuse their minds or erase your presence as a parent. Men, I'm talking to you men. We're the ones who deal with this very often. It's incentivized. Read my book, Noir Mel. It goes into it. But the erasing or we're relegated to visitors on the weekend. You're going to see your father this weekend. Your children should be hearing your voice daily. Daily. Your sons should follow you around like lions. And your daughters should always feel the protection of sisterhood and their father's presence. Don't play with lineage. You'll get hurt. You will get hurt playing with the lineage, especially someone who has an old ancient lineage or a lineage connected to a righteous culture. You will get hurt playing with that. See, a shift in the heavens always forces a shift on earth. So when a Muslim rises in the heart of the West, that's New York City, at a time of inflation, a time of instability, a time of polarization, a time of spiritual fatigue, it means something deep, because now the house of Ishmael has entered the stage. And whenever Ishmael rises, the children of Israel are being called to wake up. You see that pattern repeating in your own life. You probably are seeing now more Muslim brothers and sisters who are crossing your path, who are standing next to you, who are communicating discipline to you, communicating structure, communicating intention. We know because Ibrahim Torre is one of them. He is a quiet reminder that what is happening globally is also happening personally. You see, when signs repeat in the world and in your life, it's because the heavens want you to pay attention. So that moment is not random. The leadership shift is not even random. The alignment of descendants is not random. When houses reconnect, the season changes. So we're having the house of Ishmael and the house of Israel reconnect. That's changing times. And only those who are aligned can interpret the pattern properly. Others are running for their lives. Changing times don't just move nations, they move you. So when you get to the moment when whatever is inside you, right, whether it's discipline or laziness or truth or avoidance or purpose or fear, whatever it is, when it gets pulled to the surface, right, times are changing in that moment. And you probably felt it already. You felt certain habits suddenly feel unbearable. There's a chaos that you tolerated. And now at this stage, it just irritates your spirit. You can't take it anymore. Certain people drain you much faster than they did before. And your intuition rejects low vibrations instantly now. Your patience for nonsense has completely evaporated. And that's because when the spiritual season changes, your inner world must match the new frequency. It's an important thing I want you to hold on to. A mind that refuses to rise becomes a prison for the soul. There are a lot of people right now in the world who are suffocating because they refuse to elevate their mind while the season around them is elevating. They refuse because they're trying to hold on to behaviors in a time that demands a new discipline. They're trying to survive transitions with an identity that belongs in the past. And they're trying to live in changing times with outdated versions of themselves. So now what's happening is they're breaking. They're chaotic. They're emotionally unstable because the season is testing their foundation. And they don't actually have one. See, idols fall hardest in times of transition because lies can't stabilize a soul in an age of truth. People have idols that are inside of them. So I'm not just speaking about, the external ones, or you might have some wooden dolls or some stone dolls or, ceramics that you idolize on the floor that you bow to, or, celebrities or such. People have ego, insecurity, secrecy, resentment, distraction. Those are idols that people have inside of them, and they're collapsing. You're seeing some people melt down because they were never standing on their own energy. They were standing on the comfort of the old season. So when a cycle changes, the spirit demands alignment, whether the ego is going to go or whether the ego is ready or not, the spirit's going to still demand alignment. And that's why your old habits now, they feel wrong. And your old excuses that you've made, they just make you feel childish now. You can't go backwards anymore. The things you've been saying, the laziness, the addictions to pornography, the hypersexuality, the procrastination, the fear, anything you say, that the food addictions, the social media doom scrolling, your excuses, they feel childish now. And it feels unbearable to still have these addictions and habits. Your changing times now are demanding that your inner structure matches the energy of the new season. In the hour of transformation, it's the weak parts of the self that either rise or they rebel. And that's what you're watching around you. You're seeing some people rise right now, and you're seeing rebelling. You're seeing unraveling. Some are being revealed because changing times don't just expose others. Changing times, they expose you. They expose the areas where you still procrastinate. They expose your need for where you look for validation. They expose where you still self-sabotage. They expose where you still fear discipline. They expose where you still cling to an outdated identity, where you still negotiate with your lesser self. And here's the truth, and it's a truth that may hurt. You can't enter into a new season with the same self that failed in the last one. That's just insane. Changing times are now stripping you down to the version of you that is actually capable of elevation, not the version that is comfortable, not the version that is emotional, not the version that is misdirected, but the version that is aligned, the one that your elders affirmed and prayed that you would become, the one that your ancestors whispered about in dreams, the one that your destiny has been waiting on. See, when the times are changing, they test everything inside of you to reveal if you are that person. And if you are not, these times will force you to become that person. You can come smooth or you can come kicking and dragging. But changing times don't just shake the world, they shake you. You know, sometimes you're looking from the outside, man, times are changing, and you're looking and you don't look at yourself, because the moment that the season shifts, the first thing that gets tested is actually your identity. It's not your job, it's not your income, it's not your relationship, it's you. It's who you think you are. It's who you pretend to be. It's who you're always performing as, and who you were meant to be. That's why some of you right now, you feel like you're being stretched. You feel like you're being pressed. You feel like you're being pulled. You feel like you're being exposed. Like the ground underneath your personality is giving out. And that's because the season is confronting the version of you that can't go any further. You're not being attacked. You've probably noticed that you can't tolerate certain conversations anymore. You don't have it. Thanksgiving just passed 2 days ago, something, I think. You don't even have the energy to answer the text anymore. You've been telling them for years, you do not do Thanksgiving. I don't do it. You don't have the energy anymore to pick up the phone, and you appreciate the well wishes, but you don't have the tolerance for it anymore. On the job, when everyone's saying, I have a happy Thanksgiving, you don't even have the tolerance to be like, I don't celebrate that. You're just like, or you're like, I have a nice day off. You don't have it. Certain people feel very heavy the moment they speak. You start yawning, you start feeling tired. They're just like, oh. Your patience for emotional instability is gone, and you don't have the appetite for foolishness that you once had, because the season is outgrowing the old you. We can't carry this identity into the next chapter. That's what your soul is saying to you. This identity doesn't go into the next chapter. And there's a real truth to that. Some of the behaviors that you once had that protected you are now the behaviors that are now betraying you. Some of the personalities that you built for survival are now the personalities that are suffocating your elevation. And some of the roles that you used to play, they don't fit you anymore. You feel it. You know it. You've been wrestling with yourself in silence. The old self is fighting to stay alive, while the aligned self is fighting to be born. And when that happens, your identity becomes a battlefield. And that's why the unstable people around you are acting so strangely right now. Their identity is cracking. And they don't know who they are without the season that just ended. You've seen it already. I know you have. People are trying on new spiritualities like it's an outfit. People are imitating strength that they've never earned. People are chasing an identity through a relationship. Then you got those who are confusing trauma with intuition. They're hiding their brokenness behind deep language. They're performing enlightenment, but they're not doing any of the inner work. You see, you look at your life, you don't have the luxury right now to play pretend anymore. Not in these times, because what's happening when the season changes, the self you've been faking can't survive the shift. If you're performing confidence, the season exposes it. If you're performing discipline, the season will test your discipline. If you're performing spirituality, the season will strip it. If you're performing healing or that you're healed, the season is going to show everybody your wound. When the times are changing, the spirit of a changing time doesn't care anything about your personality. It only cares about your essence. Your essence is the truth. It cares about your purpose, your obedience, your alignment. The old version of you is reactive. That's the reactive one. It's the insecure one. It's the people-pleasing one. It's the fearful one. It's the inconsistent one. It's the emotional one. That's the version that's being confronted right now. And it's not being confronted to destroy you, but to upgrade you. Here's the deal, though. Upgrades require truth. And some of you haven't been honest with yourself in years. You ever try to update some software on your phone or your computer? You're on version 3 and you want to update to version 7 or version 6, and you go to update it and it makes you do a retro upgrade because you haven't upgraded to version 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, right? It makes you do all of the updates in between. Like, oh no, you can't update to 3 to 6 or from 2 to 6. You can't update your software that quickly because you missed a bunch of updates along the way. Now you have to face the truth. You've been neglecting your upgrade. You've been neglecting the season. And now, in order to still function and to survive, you got to jump up to this new version. And this is going to be hard because you missed all of the work you were supposed to do in between. You can't elevate into a self that you refuse to acknowledge. And that's why your habits feel so wrong right now and the excuses feel so childish, and why your comfort zones feel so poisonous to you, because the universe isn't pushing you. L isn't even pushing you. Your ancestors aren't pushing you. You're just living in a season that refuses to stay the same. So the times that are changing are demanding a new identity, the one that you always were meant to embody. Not the one that you created, not that one, not that one. The one that you were meant to embody Um, Many of you created an identity to survive your parents. You created an identity to survive your trauma, to survive your culture, to survive your partners, or even to survive your fear. But there's one that was written into your destiny before any of that stuff happened. This is personal now. This is the transformation that has your actual name on it. You see, changing times are asking one, maybe not so simple question. Are you willing to become the version of yourself your purpose has been waiting for? Ooh, how many times have people come to me for spiritual consultation, asked about their purpose? They only want to hear the end, not what you need to do to get there. I feel I'm supposed to be a healer. Everybody says the same thing. They're supposed to heal and they're supposed to lead and they're supposed to break generational curses. It's the same answers every single time. What do you think you're here to do? To heal, to be a healer. Okay. What do you think you're here to do? I had a vision, I had a dream where I was leading a bunch of people and, I just like I was over people and I was leading them. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds nice. We all want that vision, huh? Everybody want to be the president. But do you have the character to sustain you in that place? Do you have the personality that's built to take hold of that purpose? No. That's why you're sitting here talking to me. Because you're trying to figure out a way around it. You want me to confirm what you saw, probably in a delusion, but you want me to confirm it. So that way now it's just a matter of time. Well, it's going to happen at some point. But if I say it could be a possibility, it could be something that's on the road in front of you, but you may never make it to that point on the road in front of you because you haven't earned and cultivated and developed the Iwa, the character to be in that place. You just want to be there for prestige. See, when times change, it doesn't just test your identity. Times that change separate alignment. That's where everybody gets uncomfortable because they want elevation, but they don't want separation. I learned this from the Karate Kid. When Mr. Miyagi was pruning the bonsai tree. You can't have transformation without pruning. You want your destiny, but you don't want any distinction. 15th chapter of John, every branch that beareth no fruit, he taketh away. So what that means, or how that can be translated, is when the seasons shift, it is the Most High himself who starts removing the people, the patterns, the connections that can't go with you. It's not punishment. You may see it as that, but it's actually protection because some relationships are luxuries in one season and they become a liability in the next season. Some connections are harmless when you're comfortable. In comfort, some connections are perfectly fine, but that same connection can become deadly when you're elevating. You see, you can't carry misalignment into a season that's built for purpose. That's why you've been noticing everybody falling off lately. I'm talking to you. You're noticing that some people have been distancing themselves. Others have been revealing agendas. There are some people who are exposing the fractures that you didn't see before. It feels like betrayal, but it's not. It's separation. Hebrews 12 says all that will be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken will remain. It's important scripture. It's 12:27. And that can be translated that the shaking is not an attack. It's a dividing, it's a sorting, it's a revealing, it's a cleansing even. Because when the season changes, the Most High Creator separates the stable from the unstable. And it's not to punish the unstable, but to protect those who are aligned. In changing times, I don't mean to sound like a preacher, but I will say that I know someone needs to hear this. I could feel it. In changing times, those who walk away were never walking with you. They were only walking with the season that you were in at that time. That's why 1 John 2:19 says, they went out from us, but they were not of us. You didn't lose them. They revealed themselves. Some people are tied to your old identity, but they're allergic to your new one. Hey, especially for you women, there are people who can handle your trauma, but they can't handle your healing. They can walk with your broken version, but they can't stand with your aligned version. See, the good thing about elevation is that elevation exposes loyalty. And that's why when times are changing, it feels so emotional. You're not losing the people, you're losing the patterns. You're losing the mechanisms. You're losing excuses. You're losing reactions that kept you comfortable. You're losing versions of yourself that survived the last season, but will poison the next season. Amos 3:3, can two walk together lest they agree? Notice it doesn't say, can two walk together unless they be friends, or unless they have history, or unless they're related. It says, unless they are aligned. We went over alignment, what it really means in our last segment. See, changing times is separating you from anyone who can't walk with your alignment. Important point, men and women. And I give thanks right now. There's so many downloads that are coming to me. I know you probably noticed I'm pausing a lot. Because as I'm receiving, I'm speaking. And I'm having faith that what I'm sharing is what needs to be shared. People always ask me that. Well, Chief, how do you know how do I know it's me versus when it's the Spirit speaking to me? You gotta chill out, man. You gotta relax. Breathe. You'll start hearing the distinction in the voices. But I thank the Creator for sharing this gem with me to share with you. The people who fall away in changing times, they're not leaving you. They're leaving the frequency that you rose into. See, this is a season where the creator, the originator, starts to remove hands hands from your life that he never placed there. See, that's the hour now when the Most High starts to close doors that you were too emotional to shut yourself. And when elevation then requires a quieter circle, a clearer mind, a cleaner spirit. Changing times don't take people from you. They take people from the place where you're going if they can't walk with your alignment. They can't walk with your assignment. You see, when the times change, they're not coming to destroy you, depending on whose father you are. Changing times come to invite you. They come to give you an invitation to clarity, an invitation to alignment, to identity, an invitation to the version of yourself that your purpose has been waiting for. Because when the seasons shift, Shemaim or Orun or the heavens, the Duat sends an invitation before it sends the instructions. That's what you've been feeling. That's that feeling you've been feeling in your head and in your chest. Your breathing's been a little weird. You know, that's why, again, you have the urge to clean your space now. You have the urge to break old habits. You have the urge to, or rather, I would say you're tightening up your discernment. You're rejecting confusion more quickly now than you ever did before. You're more aware that you don't have any time to waste. And that is not stress. That is not an anxiety. That is not paranoia. That's you waking up. That's that John 10:27. My sheep hear my voice. Man, that's so deep. You know, that was even before I ever stepped inside of a church way back when. I heard that somewhere and it always just stuck with me. My sheep hear my voice. It was always kind of deep to me. You know, because as a young person, you have this thought that everybody talks to God or whatever. You know, I guess when you're young and you're listening, I always heard a voice, but I knew it was God. You know, I'll use that term. But some of us get that at a younger age than others because of, you know, what we have to go through in life. I had to go through some heavy things very early on in my life, like really, really early. So I needed that. You know, my name, Yuya, Allah will make the increase. So that's a person who's going to be talking to the creator, like before they talk to people, you know? But that John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice. You see, when the times start to change, the aligned people feel it before the world can see it. It's just like an animal knows when a storm's coming, even though you can't see anything or smell anything. They know because they're aligned with the earth's molecules. They're aligned with the earth's tilt, the earth's rotation. See, the spirit speaks before the mind can interpret. That's why a lot of you have been so restless. It's not because something is wrong, but because you can feel something is starting. You're not breaking down, you're being summoned. The season is shaping you, it's sharpening you, it's stripping you of what cannot follow. And now you got to understand something deeper, because elevation is never only about who rises. Elevation is also about who resists you. There's the sheep people, not the, you know, people who are sheeple and blind followers, but there's the sheep people. And then there's those who are not. You read ancient scripture, it makes a very clear distinction between the children of the Father and the children of another lineage. You know, Yahushua, he said it like with no sort of apology. He didn't put a chaser on it when he said, "You don't hear me because you're not of my Father." It's John 8:47. That's why certain people, they can't celebrate your growth. And you want them to so bad. And it hurts your heart so much, but they just can't celebrate it. They can't celebrate your alignment. They can't tolerate your clarity because your elevation threatens their assignment. I've had dudes want to throw hands with me because I could explain something. So over the years, I've learned to be a chameleon when I'm in certain environments, just because who needs to hassle? I don't want you to know sometimes that I'm well spoken or I'm well read or I'm not as confused as you are. I can break down a situation much better than you without the emotion and the anger. So I have learned over the years to play dumb. Something happens and somebody's spazzing out like, "Yo, what's that about?" And I'll be like, "Oh man, I don't even know. I can't call it. I can't call it." I used to be one of my favorite phrases. I say it all the time. Yeah, I can't call it. Learning how to be the gray man and blend in, because when you show that you have a certain level of clarity, the enemy, you know, there's the seed of the serpent, Genesis 3:15. You ain't talking about monsters. You're not talking about creatures. You're not talking about apparitions, but people who are spiritually wired to keep you in dust. Some of us are surrounded by them. The dust is your lower self. It's your triggers. It's your wounds. It's your fears. It's your emotional reactions. The dust is your undisciplined patterns. And their purpose, the seed, is to keep you distracted. So you never answer the call that's on your life. They don't fight you. They fight the version of you that they know they can't survive. Every time you get close to alignment, they start to panic. Every time you get close to your purpose, they agitate you. Every time you gain some clarity, they provoke some chaos because they know. But listen, you know who I'm speaking to, and you know who I'm speaking about. I may not know the names. I may not even know the name of who I'm speaking to, but I know you before names. I know you. You're out there. See, they know this very important thing. Once you rise out of the dust, they can no longer feed off of you. Genesis 3:14 says, "Dust shall you eat all the days of your life." So when you rise above your lower self, their influence starves. That's why they're acting so strange towards you now. That's why their behavior feels so irrational. You sitting there like a fool trying to figure it out. But I said, but then they said this, and they said I'm acting like this. They said I'm being arrogant. They said I'm being stuck up. They said I'm forgetting where I came from. They said, but I just finished doing this. They said that I only think about myself, but I just did that for them. You're just sitting there trying to figure it out. You're not realizing what the heck you're talking to. Their behavior feels irrational. And this is why they escalate when you grow. Because here's an important truth you better understand, and you better get this, and you better not forget it. It'll change your whole life, and you better teach it to everyone underneath you who you can. They have a father too. They got a father. But their father is unforgiving. Their father demands outcomes. Their father requires disruption. Their father punishes failure. Their father doesn't reward loyalty. Their father enforces it. So when they fail to keep you low, as was and is their assignment, when they fail to keep you triggered, when they fail to keep you emotional, when they fail to keep you disaligned, they have to answer to their father, not to you. Then I just describe a narcissist. You want to know who the father of a narcissist is? And why we typically understand that it's not really something that's curable. That's why right now certain individuals are unraveling the more you stabilize. Your rise is actually exposing their real allegiance. Your clarity is exposing their actual assignment. Your alignment is also exposing their real lineage. Genesis 3:15, I will put enmity between your seed and her seed. That could be understood as your elevation is not supposed to be universally accepted. Your awakening is not supposed to be universally celebrated. Some people were designed to oppose you becoming. That's the cult. You know, anytime that word cult was thrown at me, and that I knew, hey, a cult, you're just stupid and ignorant, and you don't own a dictionary. You're dumb. Sorry, you're stupid. You don't even know what the word means. You just throw it around because you're dumb and you're lazy. That's how some people are. They find a word that has an effect, and they don't even know that you can affect things in society with this word, but you don't even know if using that word has a negative effect on you because you're just dumb. You just eat dirt and dust. Not even dirt. You eat dust. You're just stupid. You raggedy. You raggedy and dumb. Oh, yeah. That's a cult. Why? No, you're a cult. Now, how do I know you're a cult? Because anything that opposes what you've been given without any level of critical examination, you have no tolerance for. You're in the cult. And I knew we'd say, hey, we're going to learn something. We're going to take these books and these people who are considered to be great, and we're going to learn them inside out, and we're going to try to live as they live and transform our mind into the highest ideas. And you say, oh, that's a cult. That's not a cult, you stupid idiot. You people in the military are in a cult. That's a cult. Police departments are cults. And you really understood what a cult is. This privacy, secrecy. I got like 2,000 videos on YouTube right now. Where's the privacy in that? In various locations around my house. You put all the videos together, you could probably create a diagram of my home. I'm in my backyard in some videos, you know. Some videos I don't have any gray hair. My face is thinner, and I got gray hair. I'm more puffy. So you seeing me change right before your very eyes. It's not a cult. Stupid. It's not a cult. I know you're like, oh, it's a lot of insults, but I'm not. I'm just speaking to the air. Just speaking to the air. You see, what happens is these are the children. When you read that scripture and it talks about the seed of the serpent, the enmity, their job is to keep you in the dust so they can keep eating. But here's the thing, they can't stop you because your rise was actually already decreed. Remember when I said that your spirit is going to facilitate your elevation, whether your ego is ready or not. Your ancestors saw the moment and the creator prepared you for the hour. So your spirit has been waiting for the season. The times are not changing to punish you. They're changing because it's finally your time. Changing times are elevating you to match what the Shemaim or the heavens already declared about you. So now you have this invitation, you have an awakening, you have a season of new identity, and you have the call to rise accordingly. That's what's happening. For some of you. For others, it may not be your season right now. Don't sweat it. I'm not some foolish church preacher who just tells everybody it's your season for your prophecy to be fulfilled. It's your season. You know, they're just lying slicksters. That's all. And many of them are of the seed of the serpent. That's why they keep their congregations so uninformed. They don't know nothing. Nothing. You ask them a basic question, they can't answer you, except for with emotional and guilting and repeated phrases. Can't answer nothing. The simplest of questions. Can't answer them. Because they have a serpent wrapped around the podium, wrapped around the altar, who's feeding from them. And you could see that because that serpent usually has the most money and the prettiest wife with the biggest hat. Feeding. He has a home, drives a caddy to town, got the whole old earth thinking that he's coming from the ground. Brand Nubians, wake up. So yeah, man. Some of you have been making excuses to stay willfully ignorant. And the season is swallowing you up. And some of you are feeling that head pressure, that chest pressure. And what's happening is that you are now growing into a new frequency. And just like a horse that feels the storm before it comes, or a rabbit that runs into a hole because a tornado is coming, even though it seems like a beautiful sunny day, you are in alignment and you're feeling that same physical warning before the change is coming. Your spirit feels it and you can't explain it or articulate it yet because it hasn't reached the mental plane where you can say, oh, this happening and that's happening. And we were vibrating at that frequency and now we're at this frequency, or we were in this age and now we're in that. We're in transition right now. So it's a faith walk or a faith jump. But you got to pay close attention to those who are resisting you. So important. One of the easy ways you can spot them, they are terrible planners. I know you're like, man, that's everybody. Then you need to get around some new everybody's. They are terrible at planning things in the future because they see no positive future for themselves. So they don't even like talking about the future. See, one thing people who know me know, I'm always strategizing constantly, day and night, always planning, almost to an obsessive degree. I need to chill out sometimes, but I'm always thinking about what's next, what's next, what's next. Spreadsheets, mind maps, whiteboards, notes upon notes, planning, strategizing. And hey, my children are the same way. Go into their room. What you doing? Thinking. Thinking about, trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this or what I'm gonna do next, or I want to make some money this summer. You know why we're always planning ahead like that? Because we know what comes in the future is something that's very beautiful. That's why. So always looking to the future. We know that punishment is not in our future because our Father is not the devil. Those who come from that lineage, and remember, to be a son is to be like. So you could be a son of a devil because you are like a devil. You could be a son of God or a daughter of God because you are like God. That's what it means to be like. When you are a son or daughter of the devil, you hate thinking about the future because you know what's waiting for you is nothing but torture and torment because you have an unforgiving father who you've contracted with. Everything you touch, you destroy. No point in keeping anything for the future because your future sucks. That's an easy way of identifying them. Easy way. They are the worst planners. Whereas as a Muslim, we say Allah is the best knower and the best planner because there's something good coming in the future. Just a little tip. That's all. Just a little tip. I'm not saying everybody who can't plan or is a terrible planner that, your father's the devil. There's other things to pay attention to too. It's other things. And I described some of those things in this segment. If you didn't catch it, go back and listen. I gave you some identity markers for the wolves. And I gave you some identity markers for what the sheep should be feeling right now. But nonetheless, thank you for spending this time, for being present, for taking your notes, for leaving comments. I want to again encourage you all to get your copy of the Mikveh Guide, get your copy of the Set Apart Al Sabbat Guide, get your copy of the ANU Glossary, get your copy of the ANU Way, as well as the Shekinah book as well, bringing in the feminine spirit of the Shekinah. I see that a lot of people have been picking up those texts. I'll be honest, more than I initially anticipated. But you seem to really be being edified from those guides. Feel free, do a video, leave your feedback, man. I would love to know like how you're applying and how you're implementing, even if it's a 30-second or a 10-second YouTube video, and just tag ANU somehow in there. ANU Life GM, I guess, could be the tag. But I'm glad so many people are picking up the works, man. That's awesome, and there's more coming. Actually, I have about, I might have to say them out loud. I have one on emergency preparedness that's in the pipeline. I have one on the true nature of understanding Oshun, the true nature of understanding Ogun. I have one on ANU Way version 2. That's going to be primarily on economics. That's in the pipeline. I have one on narcissism in the pipeline. I got more than that though. Wait a minute. I'm missing some. Oh, the workbook for the Ahab and Jezebel book that's on Amazon. Actually, that just needs to be put up. That's done. Um, I have a collective poly wealth text that's going to be on Amazon. It's going to be similar to the Ahab and Jezebel book in terms of length and everything. But that one's dealing with not only wealth building and wealth structuring when you're using multifamily models, but also inside of a polygynous household, you know, how you structure. And that one's really cool because I have sample contracts in there and forms and a way that, you know, shows you exactly from beginning to end, this is how you get it done, you know. And recently, a brother asked about family banking. Something I had mentioned to him before, how you establish a family bank. I actually could have put it in that book, but I think I'm going to do a separate text on that. But there will be more guides coming forth. Like I said, the emergency survival. Also, I don't want to give you the title of that one. I might take that one. I got another class and book that I'm working on right now as well. But there's a lot. There's a lot in the pipeline, actually, and just putting them out. So I'm glad that you are all seeming to be edified from the free stuff that's out there for you to download and whatnot. That's awesome. And again, the Ahab and Jezebel book, that's on Amazon. And so, you know, feel free to get a copy of that as well. All right. But until such time, I am Chief Yuya, Chief Jegna of the ANU Nation, head priest of the ANU Life Global Ministries. I invite you to join us, to apply, to be a part. You just got to do it through the website. Some people have been inboxing me, how do I apply? It's right there on the website. And there have been questions around sponsorship. That happens once you apply. So some people, they come in through another person, you know, like, hey, my friend down the street, I'm in ANU already. My friend down the street, he wants to join. I want to be his Jegna coming in, or his sponsor. We use the term sponsor, but it's like being a Jegna for the person. But generally, when you apply, you know, you go through a little interview. There's some questions that I asked and that I answered also in the form. And then whether you're a sister or you're a brother, uh, someone will elect at that moment or be elected to sponsor you through your process. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to have an in first. Okay, so that question was asked a couple of times. You can just apply, and someone will be, you know, appointed, if you will. All right, so everyone, please enjoy your day, and willfully I spark some thought and something for you to consider and to work on going forward. All right, until such time, Chief Yuya out. Shalom Aleichem.